Hello, everyone. How's it going? This is immigration attorney Moumita. I'm coming to you live from New York to talk about immigration and to see what you may have on your minds. I am coming to you with the intention of talking to you about what to do if you have started your waiver process. What if you have started your waiver process and now you are separated from your spouse? If you are separated from your spouse and you have already started the I-330 and then I-130 and then also the I-601A waiver process, the Perdon, because you came in illegally and you have no other way of fixing your status unless you were to leave the US. What are your options if you have already become separated from your spouse, or your spouse is all of a sudden saying that they don't want to help you, or they're saying to you that they're not going to continue with your process unless you do something for them? Or worse, you have already gotten divorced. You may already be feeling as though you have no hope, you have no options, and no way of continuing because you are no longer with your spouse. Worse yet, maybe, perhaps, your spouse is saying to you that, or your attorneys are saying, well, maybe you just go on ahead to out of the country and go to your interview instead, even though you're separated. Now, I'll explain why you may have an option to fix your status inside the US, continue on with your spouse, and why going outside may not be a good idea if you are separated. But before I go any further, my name is Moumita Rahman. I am an immigration attorney in New York, but I work with clients all over the US. So if you are seeking immigration options, if you are confused about what to do, if you have been wondering where you can go, give us a call, 212-248-7907. Now, let me go ahead and start talking about the waiver process and what your options may be if you have already separated from your spouse, or your spouse does not want to help you, or you have gotten divorced. Now, the waiver process is usually the most common option for people who have entered the country illegally but are married to a US citizen. And you may be told that you cannot fix your status inside the US. You have to leave for the consulate interview outside the country after getting a waiver approved. But what happens if during this process you have, you've gotten separated, things have gotten really bad in your marriage, and you can no longer continue with the waiver process, or worse, you're not sure if your spouse will help you continue. Now, this is the thing. If you are having problems inside your marriage that may rise to the level of extreme cruelty, then you may be able to apply for something called a self-petition in the US, where you ask for a green card for yourself. Now, there are certain things that may happen inside your marriage that you are not aware of, or you may be feeling that, like you're going through a lot of bad problems in your marriage, but you just keep on going through it. You just keep on suffering through it because you feel like, like it's gotta be normal, or this is just the way it is. But let me ask you, are you going through problems where your spouse constantly is putting you down, constantly is telling you that they're gonna cancel your application, or that they're going to go ahead and call immigration on you? Or they keep making you feel like you're never good enough for them. They keep telling you that, you owe them things because of the fact that they're helping you with the immigration process. Well, these are certain things that chip away at your confidence. And these are certain things that may also cause you to have anxiety, cause you to have depression. And worse yet, what if your spouse is doing other things to you, such as physically hurting you, controlling your money, controlling who you see, not letting you send money back home to your family, not letting you spend money on yourself? Or worse yet, if you have kids. What if you have kids and your spouse is threatening that you won't ever be able to see them again if you ever make them upset? Well, these are certain behaviors that may constitute extreme cruelty and or battery in your marriage, and on this basis, we may be able to help you file for a self-petition for a green card. And the beautiful thing about the self-petition is that you do not have to leave the US. You do not have to leave the US. You don't even have to get divorced. A lot of people are, relationships are very, very complicated, and you may be feeling that you don't really want to leave your spouse. You have kids involved. That's okay. You can still go ahead and do the self-petition. That is not required. And also, you may be feeling like you really want to leave, you really want to divorce, but you're afraid to do that because it'll cause you to get deported. And the self-petition may give you the ability to proceed on your own and secure your own status, and still be able to be free of that hurt and pain that you may be suffering in your marriage. Now, what happens if you are already divorced? What happens if you're already divorced? Can you still go through this process? Now, here's the rule. If your divorce is less than 2 years old, then you may be able to self-petition for yourself. And if your marriage is, very recent, or if you have already started the divorce, then you're not yet divorced, which means that you're still in good time. But if your divorce is more than 2 years old, then probably you're not going to be able to do anything. But if you have a situation where your spouse divorced you without your knowledge or consent, that's a different story. And that is something that you may be able to go to the local courts to try to fix and vacate, to reopen your marriage, okay? But anyway, if you are going through these problems, give us a call, 212-248-7907. And I'm going to go ahead and answer some questions. I see here I have a question from Muhammad Munirul Islam from U visas. I do not have any updates about that. All right, let's see what questions I have over here. Chavalita is asking, what is a U visa? A U visa is a visa status for persons who have suffered certain qualifying crimes. Now, these crimes are not just any old crime. They need to be on the level of a felony, and they need to be pretty serious. Usually, you must have suffered some sort of harm. With a U visa, once you get the U visa approved, you may be able to go ahead and apply for a green card after 3 years. However, the biggest thing about the U visa is that they take a long time. They're usually taking nowadays like between 5 to 10 years just to get the U visa status. And then after you get the U visa status, then you have to wait 3 years before you apply for residency. I am 22 and so confused about where to start. From my dad that arrived when he was 18, now he's 50. Burgundy, from Burgundy 392. Burgundy, thank you so much for your question. Now, if you're 22, you're an adult US citizen and you want to petition for your parents who have been here for a very, very long time. We first have to analyze whether your father or your mother have come in with entry and inspection, in an entry with inspection, or without inspection, meaning they crossed without permission, they crossed illegally. If they cross illegally, then you being 22 is not necessarily going to help them themselves. But what I look at to see is if your parents have kids who have subjected them to extreme cruelty or battery. And this is the same as this is the same thing. It's a VAWA case. It is a self-petition. And believe it or not, there are a lot of parents out there who have adult US citizen children who have treated them very, very badly. Now, if you're hearing this and you know that your siblings perhaps have gotten arrested several times, they keep disrespecting your parents, they keep cursing at your parents. Maybe your siblings have even threatened your mom or your dad with calling immigration. Like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna get arrested if you call police on me. These are things that are things of control that they're trying to have over your parents that involve their immigration status. And in these instances, we would love to help file for a self-petition for the green card. And the beautiful thing, again, about the VAWA self-petition is that to adjust your status and get your green card, you do not need to leave the US. Now, we also need to analyze whether the parent has something called the permanent bar. The permanent bar is a very serious problem, especially we see it more in people that have been here, for a long time. And the permanent bar is like probably the most severe sort of immigration punishment that they can give. And the permanent bar is basically when a person has been here for more than 1 year after April 1st, 1997, and then they depart the US and then they try to come back illegally again. And then that's when the permanent bar would be triggered. A permanent bar can also be triggered if a person has a deportation and they try to come back illegally after April 1st, 1997. This is the key date. April 1st, 1997 is the key kind of like cutoff date. And if you have more than 1 year of unlawful presence after this date, then you come back and leave, or you have a deportation, you come in, you try to enter without permission after this date. That is when the permanent bar can happen. And if the permanent bar does happen, then there are really only a few types of cases that can help fix it while you're still inside the US. And these are usually VAWA, if we can show a connection between the person's exit or re-entry or deportation to the abuse, or a T visa or a U visa. Now, so if you are confused about what to do, I would say your parents need a consultation. I would walk them through all sorts of options. Any immigration updates regarding NBC interviews? Currently, I'm documentarily qualified from Anonymous, and anyone else who wants an update regarding the NBC or the appointment scheduling there's no updates. Every consulate is individual, and every single consulate has their own processing timelines. How are you doing? How long does it take to renew EAD card? You can actually check this online on USCIS. I have COVID. Can I still get my paperwork? Vicente, you need to get your COVID-19 vaccination done before you can pass the medical exam. Any updates on DACA? I don't believe I have any updates right now. All right, let's see. Now, what happens if you are with a spouse, right? You are married to a U.S. citizen. You're married to a U.S. citizen and you have kids together and your spouse won't let you see your kids. You're separated and your U.S. citizen spouse will not let you see your kids. To me, this is a very big problem because if you're married to somebody and they're not letting you see your kids, you know, it is usually because they're trying to control you or hurt you in some sort of way. And again, if you're without status, you have an illegal entry or you have a legal entry and you're overstayed and you have no other options, but you're married to a citizen and you have a child together and they're doing this to you, then you may also qualify for a VAWA self-petition for a green card. So the bottom line is if you're going through these sort of bad situations in your marriage, you know, maybe for a long time you thought that this was just the way that it's supposed to be. It's not. Marriages are not supposed to be like that, where your spouse is trying to control and hurt you. And if you are going through that, then give us a call, 212-248-7907. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. I hope everyone has a wonderful day.